Chapter 11 of Dead Men's Shoes. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Kathy Kirchner. Dead Men's Shoes by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. Chapter 11. The new life at Lancaster Lodge suits Sybil as if she had been created for no other purpose than to sit at her uncle's table, pour out his coffee, air his newspapers, play or sing to him in the evenings, and take her own pleasure for the rest of the day. Housekeeping is an easy burden in so well-ordered an establishment. The trained servants perform their duties, light for the most part, with mechanical precision. The service is too good to be forfeited by scamped work or forgetfulness of the master's wishes. Stephen Trenchard has let his servants understand that he will have fullest value for his money, that there must be no talents stowed away in napkins in his household. He has contrived to inspire them with wholesome fear and has served to the utmost of their power. Sybil is not afflicted with a genius for domestic matters. She remembers with a shudder those days in Dixon Street when she had to cater for a penniless husband and make 9 pence do the work of a shilling. She remembers this weary time and reposes in her low easy chair, novel in hand, the garden smiling at her through the open French window, horses and carriages at her disposal, luxury around her, all Redcastle, subjugated and more or less prostrated at her feet. She keenly remembers the past and deems her present life worthy some sacrifice, more especially as the present is made still brighter by vague hopes of happiness and a reconciliation of all life's perplexities in the future. She has her dark moments, naturally. What life is without shadow? There are moments when she thinks of one she has fondly loved still, perhaps, in some sealed chamber of her heart. There are hours in which she wonders with remorseful wonder how he fares whom she so ruthlessly abandoned. For his future advantage, she tells herself, as Mrs. Secretan, I should have forfeited my uncle's fortune. As Miss Faunthorpe, I may win it and share it with my husband. Established as Stephen Trenchard's favorite niece, Sybil finds herself an object of unbounded interest and admiration with the elite. Mrs. Stormont, although overflowing with kindness, at first shows some disposition to patronize, but finding this eldest Miss Faunthorpe a young woman not amenable to patronage, changes her note and accepts Mr. Trenchard's niece as one of ourselves, elected and chosen to sit in the high places of Redcastle. The girl has a wonderful air, argues Mrs. Stormont, when you consider that she is totally without family. Talking of family, muses the Colonel, I hope it's all right about old Trenchard's money, and that he hasn't left any niggers over in Calcutta to whom he may leave his fortune. My dear Reginald, I'm surprised at you, exclaims the lady with a look of horror. Mr. Trenchard goes to church every Sunday and is altogether a most correct person. We don't know what he may have been in India, though, says the Colonel. He may have been a devil worshipper and danced an exaggerated Highland fling at devil dances, or a Mahometan, or a Brahmin, or a thug. He seems to have plenty of money, and that's about all we know of him. Notwithstanding which ignorance as to Stephen Trenchard's antecedents, the Colonel and his wife continue to court and cherish him, arranging the nicest little dinners for him, with Mr. Groshen to sit opposite to him and discourse upon the money market, lavishing affection on Sybil, inquiring kindly about the exiled Marian, as remote at the unvisited end of the town as if she had been removed to another hemisphere, and making themselves generally subservient and agreeable. Frederick Stormont, with his cutaway coat and legs like sticks of sealing wax, calls frequently at Lancaster Lodge and is deeply interested in everything that interests Sybil. The flower garden, the horses, he even volunteers to be interested in the poultry, but bottles his enthusiasm upon finding that Miss Faunthorpe has no taste for Dorkings, Spaniards, or Cochin Chinas. There is a billiard room at Lancaster Lodge, and Frederick is great at billiards. He drops in of an evening and plays with Mr. Trenchard. He teaches Sybil how to handle her cue and discourses wisely on the theory of angles. "Well, pretty one," says Mr. Trenchard one night, when Fred has taken his departure with obvious reluctance, and uncle and niece are loitering by the billiard table, Sybil leaning over the green cloth to aim at the distant red, dressed in pale gray silk with innumerable flounces, and knots of mauve ribbon dotted about among them, a masterpiece of Miss Eyelet's art. "Well, my pet, I think it's pretty clear what that young gentleman comes here for." "Billiards, I should think," replies Sybil, pushing her cue gently backwards and forwards as she meditates her aim. "They have no table at the Stormonts, and it is cheaper for him to play here than at the Coach and Horses." "The billiard table is a very good excuse, my dear, but the gentleman comes to see you." "Poor threadpaper!" exclaims Sybil with a contemptuous laugh. "For his own sake, if the thing can feel, I hope not." "Why, he'd be a very good match for you, wouldn't he?" asks her uncle, looking keenly at her from under his penthouse brows. "These Stormonts are great people, the leaders of Redcastle society. You could hardly do better than marry into their set." "If I were likely ever to marry, which I'm not," says Sybil, pocketing her ball triumphantly off the red, "I'd marry a man." "Never likely to marry? What do you mean by that?" "Simply that I'm quite happy as I am, and that I mean to stop with you and take care of you, please, Uncle Stephen, until you get tired of me." She has been living with her rich uncle nearly 3 months, and there is no more talk of her being a visitor at Lancaster Lodge. It is her home. Marian may come and go, but Sybil remains.